Hi, it's Tina Campbell, the New York Regional Partner of Master Networks, here for a Lunch and Learn, part two, right? Part two. And we're here with my friend Jim Sandler. He's also the regional trainer for the New York region. So I'm always excited to hear what Jim has to say because it's always teaches me something. Today we're going to talk about the mistakes that entrepreneurs make that robs them of profits. And I think this is so timely. So thank you for doing part two with me, Jim. I'm excited for this because, like I said, you always teach me something, and I know that this is something that the rest of the region needs to hear. So take it away.
So thank you very much, Tina, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jim Sandler, and I am the owner of KM Consulting, where we work with small to mid-sized companies to help them deal with the challenges that they face in running a business. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic called the mistakes that entrepreneurs make that rob them of profits. And so there are some key questions that are involved in this. And the first question is, what are the areas in your business that would make the most change and the most difference in my business if I could change them? Question two, are all your customers profitable? And number three, if you offer more than one product offering, are all of your product offerings profitable? So one of the things that we need to do is we need to develop a process, and we need to take a look at the same situation and the same problems or challenges or issues through the eyes of all the people that are involved in it. So I put this slide up on the screen, which shows how different people view the same thing.
That's great.
Because we assume as business owners that our way of looking at things is the same, and everybody should just see things the way we do. And in fact, everybody looks at things differently. And we look at things differently based upon what we're doing, how we're doing it, and our perspective. So as you can see, and I'm not going to read it to you, but as you can see, how each of the different people or the different roles view a problem or view an issue, it comes out differently.
I love this. I love how the project was documented.
Right. Nobody documents anything.
Nobody.
And that's one of the key problems in businesses. Nobody documents anything. So then when you go back to it at a later date, there's nothing to back it up. So if the customer says, this is what I really needed, and you then document it with nothing, then you can't go back to the customer and say, well, this is how we thought you needed it, because there's nothing there to back it up.
Right.
So another issue that comes up is we don't understand what are the costs. Now, if any of you have watched a show called The Profit or Shark Tank, one of the things that they always talk about is what does it cost to acquire a client? You need to know what it costs, what your costs are. What does it cost to acquire a client? And one of the really simple ways to do that is take all of the time you spend on marketing and all the money you spend on marketing for a fixed period, let's say a period of a year, and then find out how many new clients you got during that same time period, and divide the number of clients that you got into the total marketing costs, and that will determine what your average cost of acquisition of a client is. So for example, if you spent $10,000 on advertising and you got 1,000 new clients, your average cost of acquisition is $10.
Which would be great.
Which would be great. It's probably not $10, but that's just a simple mathematical calculation that we can all make, taking the amount of money we spend on marketing and dividing that by the number of new clients we get. That's a good estimate of the cost of acquisition of a client.
But you also said, just to interrupt you for a second, so you also said it had to do with the time you spend. So you have to factor in the time you spend at whatever your hourly rate is. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. The second cost is, what does it cost to retain a client? Now you'll notice that many of the large companies will have things like loyalty cards and different promotions, so that, let's say you have a loyalty card, if you buy from us 10 times, the next one's free. So basically, they're giving their customers a bonus for continuing to do business. But that is a cost to retain those clients. And we measure those costs, the cost of acquisition and the cost of retention. We weigh those against what we call the lifetime value of a customer. Lifetime value of a customer is what is the total dollar amount that a customer is going to spend in your business over the lifetime that they're a customer of yours. And we take the cost of acquisition plus the cost of retention, and we weigh that against the lifetime value of a customer. And if that equation comes out to be positive, then it's good. It's a good customer to have. If it's negative, they're probably not a good customer to have. Now, there are other things that make up lifetime value of a customer, and I'm not going to go into them now. If you want to know more about it, by all means, come in and contact me. I'll put my contact information at the end. But one of the other things, and this is what you were referring to, Tina, is we also sometimes overlook the cost to service a customer. What does it cost us in time spent, and energy spent to serve a difficult customer, right? If every time a customer buys from you, it then costs you numerous hours of having to deal with them, then the amount of money you're collecting from the customer is not indicative of the profit that you've made on that customer, because in fact, that's an extra cost that's associated with servicing that customer. One of the really critical mistakes that business owners face is not knowing their numbers. They don't have a good financial management tool. Business owners, when they start a business, they figure they can do it all themselves. And when they figure they can do it all themselves, they figure that that nobody else will care about their business the way they do, and therefore, in something that is specifically integral to their business and intimate to themselves, which are the numbers, they figure they have to do it all themselves. It's better if you get someone that really knows what they're doing. It's going to take them less time to do the job than it will take you. And the opportunity cost is poor because you could be out selling your products and services while someone else is doing the numbers. But you have to know what your numbers are in order for you to be able to run your business. How can you price your product or service if you don't know what it costs you to run your business? And by the way, it's really scary. The number one problem that most of my clients have when I first go into their facility is I ask them, what does it cost you to open up your business? And the scary part is they don't know the answer.
Can I ask you a question? Do you
Sure.
feel so if you have somebody starting a business, this seems like it would be a lot easier to do it from, the get-go.
Absolutely is. It's absolutely easier. But if it is your business, a lot of times people have read, especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, they read about people who have started this way, they give it out to somebody, and then they find out that someone else stole from them. So the problem with that is when people do that, they end up, number one, they end up just giving it out to someone without spending any time controlling it. There was a president of the United States that used to say that what you should be doing is you should outsource it, and give it away, give that information away, but you should verify. It's called trust but verify. So you can trust somebody else to do the mechanics of the job, but that doesn't mean that you're giving away the responsibility that you have to make sure that it's being done right.
And when you're talking about the financial piece, is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely, because that's the scariest piece to give up.
So what you're saying is that you should start off, okay, your business, and maybe not, maybe you don't have an accountant right away. But the point is you should understand your numbers and kind of start with a spreadsheet, start with something to figure this out.
Right.
And then you can always hand it over. But yet you should not only know your numbers, you should understand them.
Absolutely. You
Okay.
have to know and understand your numbers. That is critical. So You should also be analyzing all of the areas of your business to determine which products or services are profitable. I had a client that I was working with who thought that one area of their business was profitable, and when we did the analysis, it turned out that that was not the most profitable part of their business. In fact, that was the least profitable part of their business. And what ends up happening is, if you're spending your marketing dollars, which, considering the fact that most of us don't have the budgets of Coca-Cola, if you're spending the bulk of your advertising on dollars on products or services that are not really profitable, as opposed to spending those limited dollars on areas that are more profitable, it makes a huge difference in your bottom line. So what you need to do is you need to relate your costs to your revenue. How much revenue can I produce? And what are my costs that are associated that I need to spend in order to get that revenue? So you need to obviously know how much revenue you want to produce. So you need to identify your average sale in each product area, and you need to determine how much it costs to get how much revenue. That's critical, because otherwise you're spending money on things that aren't profitable. So in terms of operations, do you have current numbers at all times, and do you know them? Do you measure each division? And do you look at your costs regularly? Because your costs can change based upon a host of different factors. One of the critical things that I do with companies that I start to work with is we take a look at their current organizational chart. They show me their org chart. And then I say to them, if we took a blank piece of paper today and you started your business all over again, what would the org chart look like? And then what we do is it forms a starting point of, if you would start it new in a different way than it is today, how do you make how do you change the current to the new? And most of the time people say we can't do that. And my response to that is, if you do, comes to hell. So we need to work, we take what you have now, the current, and we move towards the new. One of the articles that I talk about a lot is an article called What You Permit, You Promote. And it's a really terrific article. And basically what it says is, if you have things going on in your business and you know they're going on and you don't do anything about them, the people that are in your business take that as a tacit endorsement that it's okay to do it. So if you have mistakes going on in your business and you don't do anything about it, then your employees believe that, in fact, you're okay with the mistakes.
You know, I've known, being in corporate America for so many years, I've seen some of that, of course. I've also seen small businesses that have one or two people, and they're so scared of the one person that controls the admin or controls the finances. They're so afraid to get rid of this person, and the person is just, taking advantage of
Right.
that. So I've seen that.
I had a client a few years ago, and basically I was running at the time like a mastermind group, and the president and CEO of the company had promoted someone to vice president. And as soon as he promoted the person to vice president, the person that he had promoted kind of became like Attila the Hun. And he would come to our monthly mastermind meetings and say, this person is just, they're impossible. I don't know what to do with them. And the mastermind group said, well, you need to get rid of them. And this happened month after month. And his response was, yeah, but if I get rid of them, I have nobody else to fill that spot. Well, what you're basically doing is you're endorsing that behavior.
Right. So you have to go back to doing it yourself if that's the case. You have to figure it out.
You don't have to do it yourself. What you can do is, so first of all, what tends to happen is we get stuck doing the urgent things. We call it tyranny of the urgent.
That's me.
Which fire do we have to put out today?
Yep.
So the next is a lack of focus on what's important.
That's me.
Fear of making difficult decisions, right? One of the problems that sometimes business owners face is something called paralysis by analysis. We want to make sure that we make the right decision, so we don't make any decision until we're certain that we have all the facts, all the details, all the information, and we're never going to have all the facts, all the details, and all of the information. So instead, they don't make a decision at all.
So I've heard that a no decision is a decision to do nothing.
Well, no decision is a decision to abdicate your ability to make the decision so that other people make the decision for you.
Right.
So again, being unable to focus on the big picture. Having accountability. One of the beautiful things about being a business owner is you have the God-given right to procrastinate. And you have nobody to hold you accountable for what you need to do.
Absolutely true. You have to get an accountability partner.
That's right. The other thing is not to be able to say no. Somebody comes to you and says, you should do this. And you say, okay, great, we'll do it. And then someone else comes and says, we should do this. Or in terms of, one of the things I remember back earlier in my career, we'd have people that would say, you make a certain thing. And they say, well, if you could just make a tweak to that thing that you make, right, we could buy a ton of them. And you'd spend all sorts of money machining up and getting ready to make it, and then they wouldn't buy any.
Yep.
You have to be able to say no. It's hard, but you have to be able to say no. So what do? At KM Consulting, we help with things like identifying the mistakes that businesses are making and providing them with policies and procedures to fix them. We help you work on your business and not just in it. We help you facilitate good business decisions having positive impacts on customers, employees, and your bottom line. Most companies tend to hire fast and fire slow because what they end up doing is they're saying, well, I have nobody to fit, going back to that earlier example, I have nobody to fit that bill, so I can't get rid of the person.
Right.
Well, what you end up doing is you hire quickly so you don't necessarily have the ability to hire the right person. A few weeks ago, one of the members in our chapter, in our Master Networks chapter, came on and gave me a testimonial because he said he brought me in to help him do hiring at the end of last year. And despite the way I told him not to do it, he ended up hiring somebody. And now he wants to call me up again because he didn't listen to what I said. Now he needs to engage me again to help with the hiring.
Oh, boy.
So if we hire slow and fire fast, we have the ability to do it correctly. And I have a topic that I talk about called how to hire so you don't have to fire.
That'll be part 3.
Part 3. And what if you were always hiring, if you always had a bullpen of potential employees so that when you did have an opening, you already have a bullpen of people that you could bring in. So you don't have to hire so fast out of necessity.
Right.
We help our customers create a strategic plan that helps maintain accountability. So we'll take a look at where you are now and where you want to go. And then on a month-to-month basis, we will make sure that you're doing what you said you wanted to do. And change is hard. Change can really be hard, and it can be very stressful for some people. What we do is we help you and your employees embrace, not fear, change. People don't mind change as much as they hate being changed. But we can create an atmosphere where we can help you and your employees to embrace change. This is what we do for our clients. We can do it for you.
Great. Love it.
What we do is, at KM Consulting, we help our clients take focused action, which produces tangible results, and we can measure the success. Earlier we talked about that documenting, the reason you need to put a process together so you can document it. That's what measured success is. We document it. We can help you measure where you are now, where you are in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, to make sure that you get to where you want to be in your business.
Awesome. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So, do you think, or let me ask you in the process, and you might say really it depends upon the client. I understand that. If you were talking about like a small business, well, I shouldn't use small, I like to say local business because I don't like to make it the size of it, right? But I think, do you think a strategic business plan, is that usually what comes first, or is that the chicken or the egg?
Well, it's really interesting that you say that. A strategic plan, which, by the way, is different than a business plan. A
Okay.
business plan is used, the function of a business plan is really to put out there about you and your company so that someone, a financial institution, will give you money or lend you money to enable you to do what you want to do. Now, a strategic plan is part of a business plan, but it's a different function. The function of a strategic plan is to basically set up why you're in business, why you went into business, where you see yourself a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, how you plan on getting there, what is important to you in terms of culture, right? Your values,
Yep.
and putting a process together which says, here are the strategic goals that I want to reach, and then that are specific, measurable, attainable, the people that are responsible to get it done, and they're time bound.
Okay.
So those are your goals. Then you have strategies to accomplish those goals, followed by what we call action items, which are chunks of time. So let's say we put together a strategic plan with goals in it for the year, with strategies for that, and then we have 30-day action chunks. So during the next 30 days, what am I going to accomplish in terms of reaching that goal? And then we can take a look 30 days in the future and say, well, did we hit our action targets? And if we did, we can move forward. If we didn't, we go back and we figure out what we need to do in order to hit them.
Okay, thank you. Because I really didn't understand that. I thought it was almost the same thing, but that makes sense because a lot of times, and so that's something that you could do with people if they're trying to get any kind of financing, if they're trying to get an investor, any of that, they're trying to get a loan, that they should come to you and you could figure out the business plan, which would include strategic business plan. So
That's
all of
correct.
that in order to help them get some funding. That's great.
That's correct. I mean, some of our best sources of referral are loan officers when they have clients that come to them and their numbers just don't look right. They don't qualify for a loan. So
Wow.
we can go in and work with that company in order to help them change things around in their business so that they have the ability to then work with us to create that plan to go back to the bank. And at that point, they will be able to get the finance.
It's a good point. I never thought of that as a referral partner for you. So, business bankers.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad to know that. Well, I
Yep.
really want to say thank you. This was really interesting. And like I said, I always feel like I'm learning something. I feel like I'm motivated to like make sure that I'm watching the numbers, that I can, you know, really make a change or a pivot like we've been talking about based upon, and some people may run or redo their strategic business plans at this time. And I think you and I have talked about this, that you can help people with understanding the plan in order to come out and reopen, correct?
Right.
So,
Exactly. This is a great time to evaluate a strategic plan based upon what is your plan for when we get back to normal. When
okay.
we get back to opening up our businesses, what is your plan?
So I really want to make sure people in Master Networks understand that and beyond, that are going to that this is, would you say, critical thinking is
Critical
needed
thinking.
right now. I mean, you're at a time when as the gates are going to open, what are you going to do? So you could be working with somebody right now. So I
That's
hope that they'll hear this message. So
right now, a lot of business owners are in survival mode.
yeah.
They're trying to just survive. in order to be successful when we come out of this, we need to think past survival mode. We need to think about what happens when we open. What happens when things get back to the normalcy?
Right. And you're not even going to know, nobody really knows. It's not like you can have a crystal ball. But the point is, if you have somebody, a business coaching person, a person that goes in and you're going to have factors. I bet you have all kinds of factors that you can say, okay, if this happens, then this, and this, and this, and you can start to formulate, and they won't have to feel like survival. It's not surviving. They will be thriving. Would you say?
Correct. That is absolutely correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you very much, Tina.
love talking with you. Thank you for spending the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay.